Sat Nam Namaste. So this is a video about the new program, Money, Maya, and Manifestation. And before you run off and think, oh, I'm not interested in any program, stay just for a couple minutes. You might learn a thing or two about prosperity from a spiritual perspective. So this program is for teachers, healers, leaders, and artists. And you may think, well, I don't really fall into any one of those categories. I'm sorry to tell you, you do. If you're drawn to Catalyst Yogi in these videos, then you fall into one of these categories. So you're a person that's ready to bust out. You're just chomping at the bit to share your gifts and talents. You know that you have a higher purpose on this planet. But you're afraid. You're afraid that safety net won't appear. You're afraid that those people won't appear. You're afraid that the money won't appear. You're afraid that the physical resources won't appear. So who's telling you all this? The ego. The ego will do anything and everything to keep you from your higher purpose. The ego is not your friend. The ego is not your ally. Okay? The ego creates a direct obstruction between you and your higher self. So the ego's been lying to you since around 2 years old. That's when the ego starts to form in the developmental stage of the human. The ego has been lying to you about who you are. The ego has been lying to you about your potential. The ego has been lying to you about how this universe works. So my own personal story, I've been at this Catalyst Yogi for about 11 years now, full time, solely, only Catalyst Yogi, nothing else. And I was teaching 3 classes a week, sometimes more. I was teaching workshops regularly. I was teaching weekend retreats. I was writing a lot. I was on a trajectory to become a Kundalini Yoga teacher trainer. And then in 2012, the carpet from underneath my feet got ripped away from me. So it was like I was on a train and I was headed in this direction. Suddenly the train comes to a grinding halt, right? And there's no tracks. The tracks disappear. The train disappears. Everything disappears. I was completely alone. So I thought, okay, God, I guess you don't want me teaching anymore. That's fine. You know, maybe it's time for me to get a job. So I started an RIP plan for Catalyst Yogi. I wish I would still have that. It's like a task list. Delete the website, delete my Facebook account, delete my YouTube account, cancel my newsletter service, and cancel these other software services I had for Catalyst Yogi. And then I proceeded to write out resumes. And I have real earthly skills, right? I held positions of responsibility and authority. So I'm recreating my resume, and I can just hear my angels and guides in the background laughing. Like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. Anyway, but I didn't know any other way. So I fired off all these emails. Crickets. Nothing. Nada. Not even, we've received your resume, we'll get back to you. Not even, can you come and meet with us? Like nothing. Nada. So I was in the consciousness, of surrender. I was still the teacher, and I'm the first student is always you when you're a teacher. So I was in this consciousness of surrender and wondering, how is this all going to work out? Because the pressure was on. Remember the Aquarian Sutra, when the pressure is on, act, and the pressure will be off? Well, the pressure was the bills were coming. My rent was due. I had bills that were coming up that needed to be paid. And I had no one. I had no human support. I had no financial support. I had nothing. And I remember very clearly one day during my sadhana practice, and I heard, you are waiting for a job to come and save you. You have to save you. You're waiting for a job to come and save you. You have to save you. And it was that, when you get those intuitive hits and it's like, oh, that's so right. That's exactly what I'm doing. I had given my power over to the external, right, to come and save me. So then I meditated on, okay, I have to save me. I have to save me. So I looked around and it's like, okay, well, what do I have in this present moment? Oh, I've got Catalyst Yogi. Right, so I looked over at Catalyst Yogi. The heart is still beating, barely, right? The dirt's all over Catalyst Yogi's face, but the heart's still going. So got the paddles out, resurrected Catalyst Yogi. Okay, it's like, okay, I've got my laptop, I've got my Facebook group, I've got my newsletter subscribers, my YouTube subscribers. I had people to serve. Okay, that's good, tick. And I had tons and tons of teaching content, right? Because I had done so much classes and workshops and retreats that I had lots and lots of content that I had filed away. I rarely taught the same thing twice. So I brought all of that out and then created a program, an online program. And I got lost in the creation. I got lost in the passion of my soul wanting to serve and wanting to help others. It was like a joy. I just felt joyous. And then, of course, the students came, right? All the students signed up, to my surprise. And the money came. The money appeared. All the things that I needed at the perfect time appeared for me. So the lesson there for me was when I show up to my life, then everything else starts to show up for me. So this isn't a rainbow and unicorn story, right? And then Catalyst Yogi lived happily ever after. I had to face a lot of fears. And now the material world is not something that I felt comfortable in. Never. It's been a challenge. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with money. I would do anything I could to deny that I had to live in the material world. It was like a memo, right? Everybody else seemed to have gotten this memo, how this material world works, but I didn't get the memo. Money to me was like a monster that I hid away in the closet, right? Until it burst out with overdue bills and, money problems. So I was very afraid, right, to be honest, like terrified of money. And so I had to face deep-seated fears, terrors even, in my unconscious mind, right? Through my conditioning, through my religious conditioning, through my cultural conditioning, through my ancestors, even in my past lives, and all the belief systems that came with this scarcity model that I was living in. So if you're drawn to me, then you've spent many, many lifetimes on the spiritual path. So living in a cave, living in a monastery, living in a convent, right? Living in an ashram. Basically, you've been a renunciate, which means that you renounce the world, the material world. And your life was spent in meditation. Your life was spent in prayer. Your life was spent in servitude. Your life was spent in ceremony, right? And everything else was taken care of. Your food, your shelter, your clothing. These are things that you didn't have to worry about. So now we're all being born in the West. Okay? And why is that? Because now we're to walk with the people. This is a time in the Aquarian Age when we're not above the people, we're not separated from the people. This is a merge of spirit and flesh. Remember, the Piscean Age was the separation between church and state, the separation between spirit and flesh, and now it's coming together. So this can be an unknown territory for many people. It was an unknown territory for me. So I did the prosperity meditations. Had. I did that till the cows came home. I did Subha Kriya, God, over and over and over again. Nothing happened for me. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but in the Aquarian Age, you can't meditate away your problems. You can no longer meditate away your problems. Meditation is to still the mind. Okay? Meditation is to still the mind so that you can perceive reality as it truly is, so that you have a chance to see. In the Aquarian Age, where each one of us is being called to fully participate in creation, to fully participate in our life. And this is where we face our unconscious fears, right? This is Earth School. This is the playing field. This is where we work it all out. So this is where you come face to face with your unconscious fears, okay, so that you can face them. These fears that are blocking you from abundance and prosperity. So this is an 8-week online program, so you can do it from anywhere in the world. And it's sourced from ancient teachings all the way up to modern teachings. So for example, you've got your 8 spiritual laws to prosperity and manifestation. And then you've got your quantum physics. So the program is a living, breathing, alive, healing experience. Remember, in the Piscean Age, I don't have the information. I need to seek outside of myself to find the right information. All the information's here now, right? The ancient Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, it's all online. Just Google it. We have the information. Now we need the experience. So this program provides you with the experience. Okay, so you have the tools, you have the information, and then this activates the quantum field so that you can see what's blocking you. You can see it right in your life, what's blocking you from prosperity and abundance, so that you can triumph over each hurdle. So you also unlock your unique prosperity blueprint, which is determined by your time, location, and date of birth. And so prosperity means something different to each person. Now, we've been conditioned by the ego to think that prosperity is having a good paying job, having a nice car, owning our own home, going on exotic vacations, having a perfect partner, being special in some way, right? Through fame. The ultimate is fame. And so this keeps us chasing for something outside of ourselves. And this is not always the case, right? Your soul's definition of prosperity could be something completely different than somebody across the room from you. So you also have, through the program, community support, which is really important in the Aquarian Age, through a closed Facebook group. And also energetically, we're creating a group consciousness. So that helps accelerate the healing. You also have homework each week, so you're accountable for that. So the ego can't weasel out of the exercises that you need to do to unlock your prosperity. And also there's weekly video calls. Okay? So this is my favorite part. Every week, just before the next module is delivered to you, we gather together as a group, and each person comes up and just shares what went on for the week for them, which always ties into the theme of the module. And this is where you're addressed by me And so I help point out the pattern that you're in and to clear you so that you're ready for the next module. Now, because it's a group consciousness, the beauty of it, if there's 20 people on the call, then you get 19 other different versions of you. And often people will say, oh my God, I went through the same thing as you did, right? So you amplify the healing with these video calls. And I love them. So if you're unable to attend, that's no big deal. They're recorded so you can watch them later, which I encourage people to do. And also you can submit a question to me that I will address in the call. I'm also on the Facebook group too to help people. And you'll also have a buddy. You'll have a prosperity buddy that you connect with once a week. So just in closing, it's not God's will. It's not the divine's will for you to be stressing and worrying about money. It's not God's will for you to have so much anxiety about your survival. This isn't the divine's will for you. When you choose to live your higher purpose, when you choose to share your gifts and talents with the rest of humanity, you automatically become an employee of God, the divine. Now, the divine is the best employer that you'll ever have. The divine is like the sun that shines its rays and its warmth on you constantly, consistently. And you're like the flower that blossoms in that light and love, right? To become your highest and best self. This is a life lived with purpose. It's a life lived carefree. It's a connected life. It's a life lived without fear. So it's time to come out of the shadows. It's time to come out of hiding. It's time to walk among the people and sharing your divine gifts and talents with the rest of humanity. Because there's absolutely nothing to fear. Nothing to fear. It's all an illusion created by the ego. So if you want to learn more about the program, more details, go to my website, www.catalystyogi.com. So watch your mind if you go visit the website and watch that ego. Here's your first exercise for the prosperity program. Watch it scroll right down to the bottom looking for the price. And watch that voice. Hear that voice. That's too expensive. I can't afford it. That's way too much money. That right there is the first block to you receiving prosperity and abundance from the universe. Because what that ego is telling you, you don't matter. What you have to share with humanity has no value. That is what the ego is really telling you, because I am a reflection of you. Remember, recognize the other person as you. So know that you do have value. Okay? What you've been given from the divine is not for you. It's to be shared with your brothers and sisters on planet Earth. And we'll deal with all of that during the program. So don't worry about that. Also, if you're on my newsletter list, then you'll receive a free little mini series that I'm going to create on prosperity just to get you started, okay, and prepare you for the program. And also email me if you have further questions. But I really hope to see you on board with this new program, because it's time for us to be visible. It's time for us to live in abundance and prosperity. Okay, Satnam.